the recorder. It's a long story. A question for the ages. This simple, basic instrument, which doesn't require keys up to the bass or tenor or bass, but these keys are an extension of our fingers. There are no ladder keys, there are no keys that open extra holes. So basically it's a basic instrument, pardon the pun. This instrument is able to play the whole scale with all half tones. This instrument can also play it's also able to play some difficult trills or passage from one note to another with second or third fingerings. Some of these fingerings have a different tone. So some are bright, some are a little bit low, flat, some a little bit sharp, some are bright, some are soft, some are dull. So what can be seen as a flaw, the fact that the recorder hasn't all these keys that allow us to play fast, can be an asset. All these double or third fingerings able us. Sometimes the second fingering is just as good as the first. Sometimes it's not that good. But, for example, there are many ways to play the same note, but they have a different tone to it. To be fast, it's up to now. It means the recorder, a good trained recorderist, can be as fast as not so good flute player. So the flute will be always faster when it comes to keys with flats or sharps, but there's more to music than being simply fast. And at the end of the day, a good jazz recorderist, because I speak about jazz, can be as fast as a good slide trombone player. I say that because, as you see, I play, as you see, if you can't see, I hear a trombone too, so I know what I'm speaking about. The recorder. What's wrong with the recorder in jazz? Nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Maybe people are wrong. I'm speaking about those very good technically trained recorderists, but jazz is not just playing with swing. First of all, the swing that these people have is a stilted, studied, unnatural swing. And they study to have what we do naturally. It's like you're not a native speaker of Italian. You try to speak Italian in 1 week. What you get, if you're very good, is a kind of Italian accent. It sounds Italian to non-Italian people, could be believable to non-Italian people, but an Italian would always tell the difference. So a jazzman or a jazz lover can immediately tell this is not a jazzman. This is somebody who plays jazz for the time being, just now. Secondly, jazz is also improvising. Otherwise, okay, just you get the swing, you can play everything. It's not a performance, okay? A rendering of music written is expression of yourself. Years of trying to interpret the composer idea train a classical musician just to hide themselves. And when you play classical music, it's good that, because otherwise you would play Mozart like Beethoven or Shostakovich or whatever. No, every time you play, you try to get into the spirit of things. In jazz, there are people who do that, but mostly accomplished jazzmen are people who express themselves and have their own style. That doesn't mean they are so they always play this in the same way, because even ourselves we are made of different parts, but we have something in common. When I call you, you recognize my voice. If I have a different voice and I speak about different things, you say, who's that? I'm Val. No, you're not Val. In jazz, a person should be recognizable. That means there's no academic sound. There isn't one sound. What I can tell about classically trained recorders is that they tend to have the same sound. They will tell you there are differences. Okay, there are differences, but these differences are minimal as compared to jazz. Second, in jazz, many sounds are allowed. More than in classical music, somebody says, you try to sound like a saxophone, or okay, that's good in jazz. You should have many strings, to your bow. I don't remember the idiom. Anyway, you should have an array, a bag of tricks. And when I say bag of tricks, I don't mean tricks in a bad way. I mean that you should have some of these sounds are always common in contemporary classical music, but you should do that just not to show off that you can make strange sounds, but when they come to you, I mean, in a tasteful way, in a meaningful way, okay? Just know you shouldn't show off. Jazzmen who show off are not good jazzmen. Sometimes you could do many things, but in that moment you feel that you have to go down, slow down, there's a climax. Take your time, make less notes. If you feel that you have the feel that in that moment you feel like this and the music leads you there, you really don't need to show off. And when people play good jazz and play let's say many notes, they knock off pa 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 pa. because in that moment they feel like that. But doing that the whole time would be tacky, corny, a corny way of playing jazz. So, for the time being, given the fact there's not a big market for jazz recorder, but that is also caused by the fact there are no jazz recorders accomplished, at least, that's like a vicious circle. Given this fact, and given the fact that I reckon that it's more important to know the music than to perfectly master an instrument, I mean, it's the lesser of the two evil, okay? You should be able to master the instrument and the music. But if you have two players, one masters the recorder 100%, but not jazz, the other one jazz but not the recorder, at the end of the day it's always the jazzman who wins. Okay? He gets away with it. Because in jazz, unless there are, okay, his technique is so flowed as you cannot hear it, it jars on your ear, but generally speaking, given, I mean, they both are decent players, but one is more technical, the other is more a musician. It's always the musician who gets the cigar, so to speak. Okay? So these are commonplaces. I mean, it's logic what I say, but it's not logic. It's not what classically trained recorders think. Okay, I've been getting a lot of heat because I was not perfect in jazz. People learn along the path. It's very rare you have a jazzman from the first record he was perfect. It's like learning a language. Even if you're not perfect, you have the chance to play in front of an audience, and they make allowances for you because you're a beginner, or you at least you try. Okay? So that's why there are important venues, pubs and things. So you cut your teeth playing in pubs and so on and so forth. It's not like classical music, boom, you get out, you need to be perfect, because most of the times there's a paying audience or audience of experts that are there also to criticize you if you get a wrong note, if a note is out of tune. No, jazz lovers see the forest, they don't see the trees. Okay? That's the problem. Classical music lovers sometimes are there like opera lovers. They want to hear if the tenor or the soprano is perfect, and they like to whistle if they don't like it. Okay, in jazz there's not like this. I'm more lenient. Jazz audience is more lenient. They know because they have records of an early Barry Goodman who didn't sound so well. Colin Hawkins sometimes when he plays, I heard in records that he gets what in Italian we call take a very false note, out of control. It happens. Shit happens in jazz. It's a real-time music. And after all, these people and I'm improvising. I'm not reading. So when you're reading, your attention is 100% towards what you're reading. You've already done that, and it's normal. It's only natural that you make less mistakes. But you don't have this spontaneity, this now hic et hunc, they say here and now. That is like watching a football match. The beauty of it is it's live. Okay. There is a difference because if you already watched a football match, you wouldn't watch it twice. Jazz, you can listen to the same thing. But the first time you hear an improvisation is always the best, because the second time is different. Maybe you like it, but you like it in a different way. The first time is always different. Um, okay, this is to speak about jazz and to speak about the recorder. Another thing, jazz. I know some people will find fault with what I say because a lot of the charm of a recorder for some people is the fact that it's made of different woods, different different makers, different generally speaking Renaissance, Middle Age recorders, Baroque recorder, modern recorders, over modern recorders, electric recorders, and so on and so forth. I'm a little bit against that. First of all, because one of the features of the recorder that is so basic, and I think, but it's that way I see it, that unless you're very rich, you should buy the recorder that is good for your level. Okay? When you become an accomplished recorderist, and if you have the money, because not everybody has the money, you buy handmade, customized recorder, custom recorder. But many people speak more about that than all the rest. It seems to me auto-referential, self-referential. Okay, I don't know in English. I mean, they speak a lot about this. It's sometimes get annoying, mainly for people who don't have all this money to spend on all these recorders. The record, and this I'm speaking to people who know the recorder. Other people don't. They have the opposite problem. They don't even know that there are good recorders, that there are professional recorders. And if I say I spent 500 euros on a recorder, sounds like it's huge amount of money for a recorder, but I can tell there are more expensive recorders than that, and mine is just middle of the range. Consider the fact it's a wooden recorder. This is plastic. Plastic recorders are not that bad. I would like to have a handmade plastic recorder with a block, a wooden block. I have to order this from France. I heard the sample are very good. Why a plastic? Because when you play jazz, you don't want to tamper with with the recorder. You don't want to have problems where you play. You don't want to need that it's gonna break, or the temperature, the room temperature is not good. And unless you have 3 or 4 good recorder to change, because if the concert is gonna last more than 2 hours, you cannot play the same wooden recorder for 2 hours, so you have to change it. And the only downside they have is that they tend to clog easily. But there are, okay, you keep in your pocket, so there's no difference in the temperature, room temperature, ambience temperature, and the instrument temperature. And sometimes you just do this. There is a pause, somebody's playing. In jazz you don't play the whole time, and you the clog, I don't know, I say the clog doesn't exist. Unclog, it's better. Okay, it's a long speech about the recorder. Basically, classically trained recorders and recorder lovers do not love jazz. So sometimes they judge only, okay, it doesn't sound the way the recorder is supposed to sound. This is the beauty of it. Most of jazz instruments do not sound the way they are supposed to sound in classical music. Only when jazz became mature, adult, they could play more similar to classical music with cool jazz. You have very, very dense, beautiful sounds from the point of view of purity, or from a sound can be, you can like somebody who plays, but objectively the single sound is not a pure, but the whole performance is pleasant because the way he plays. Okay, so these are two different things. Like a person cannot be really beautiful, but the way he smiles and the way he does things, the way he moves and speaks make this person pleasant. You can have a very beautiful person, and that at the end of the day is not, after a while, doesn't look that beautiful after all. That was a long speech about the recorder, the jazz recorder. My experience is I want to be loved by jazz lovers, not by recorder lovers. And because if I play jazz, people are gonna listen to jazz more than the instrument. So I don't think that all these recorder lovers are going to come to my gigs if I play jazz, because basically in their mind they love the recorder as much as they love the music that traditionally the recorder plays. Thanks for watching.